What is up, everyone? Welcome to the FAA podcast. Good to be back in abnormal length in between shows.
Yeah.
With family in town and graduation, swearing-in ceremony.
Yeah.
You're looking at two official attorneys in the Wisconsin State Bar.
Welcome to the Esquire podcast.
Yeah, it's a pretty good weekend though. Football-wise, all the games were very interesting and competitive. The underdogs showed out, covering 3 out of the 4 games. However, no wins for the underdogs, which was rough. But let's get to it. We'll also, at the end, talk about the Titans and the Falcons drafts, which be interesting for sure. Panthers beating the Showboats 24-18. I thought my Memphis Showboats were going to be able to get it done in Michigan. They came up just short, though. Once again, playing 2 quarterbacks in this one. I was not able to pay too much attention as this game was going on during graduation on Saturday, so wasn't able to really watch it. But I got to watch the end when they eventually lost. But Case Cookis, though, 10 of 16, 62.5%, 179, touchdown, a pick. Bryce Perkins, pretty good. 7 of 9, 77.8%, 106, touchdown, 9 carries, 55 yards. And I was not too shocked, I guess, but was surprised. Brian Lewerke did get the start for the second straight week for Michigan. I thought Bryce Perkins was going to be the starter. I thought he played a lot better last week and against DC, and he outplayed Brian Lewerke again this week, throwing 2 less passes, but he completed 1 more. Had a much better passer rating. Obviously, with Bryce Perkins, you get that rushing element that Brian Lewerke doesn't really have. So I don't know. I think I would go with Perkins from here on out if I'm Michigan. I also think, looking ahead, we know that we know the Panthers are going to play Birmingham in the USFL Conference Championship game. Well, what does Birmingham have? They have a mobile dual threat quarterback in Adrian Martinez. Why not match that with Bryce Perkins? Just saying. Showboats also, Josh Love getting his first action this year. Pittsburgh Maulers quarterback last year, played in the playoffs in the USFL championship game, I should say, against the Birmingham Stallions. But I can't remember if that was when he was still on the Maulers or if he had already went to Michigan by then. He might have been at Michigan. I don't remember. But anyways, he was really good. 9 of 12, 75%, 56 yards and a touchdown. Really, really solid production for Josh Love. So it's interesting decisions down the stretch here for Coach DiFilippo, knowing you're not going to the playoffs. You're 1-7. It's tough because we know all the playoff spots are locked now. So there's really not it's really going to be a tough coaching jobs for those 4 non-playoff teams these last 2 weekends, because it's like, all right, well, now it's about, all right, guys, put film on, put the best film that you can out there and try to get you a shot at an NFL training camp spot coming up in the fall. That's what I would be saying anyways if I was one of the 4 non-playoff coaches. Matthew Colburn was excellent in this game for Michigan. 93 yards on 24 carries, 2 scores, and a 7-yard reception. Memphis, once again, couldn't run the ball. Darius Victor, only 3 yards per carry, 33 on 11 carries. David Davis was a bright spot for the Memphis O, though. 3 catches, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns on 4 targets. For Michigan, it was Devin Gray, Cole Hicatini, the wide receiver and tight end, catching the touchdowns from Perkins and Lewerke there. Defensively, I'm going to go with the bottom guy, Garrett Marino, D tackle for Michigan, 2 tackles, both of them solos, a sack, tackle for loss, pass deflection. Showboats plus 9.5 covered under 47.5. And of course, I had the over in that one. So I was like, dang. I was really hoping that Memphis was going to tie it up at the end there, and the over would have hit going into overtime at 47.5. I had it at as well. So yeah, we were looking for the tie. We didn't get it though. There's still a goose egg in the loss column for the Birmingham Stallions, 8-0, 35-28. This was maybe the toughest game they've had to play this year, competition-wise. Adrian Martinez just absolutely balled once again, though. The yards aren't staggering, but 5 total touchdowns, 3 through the air, 2 on the ground, and a 1-point conversion as well to go along with 61.3% completion and 217 total yards passing and rushing. The Roughnecks still continuing their shaky quarterback situation. Reed Sinnott, I believe, got the start in this one. 1 yard short of 100, but not great completion, 46.2%. Touchdown, a pick, a 2-point conversion there. Nolan Henderson was much better than Sinnott was, 9 of 14, 64.3%, 97 yards. And then he has that running ability as well, 34 yards on 9 carries, touchdown. Did fumble it, unfortunately, but he did score a 2-point conversion as well. Good day leading the way in rushing for Ricky Person Jr., the Stallions, 63 yards on 15 carries. Also caught 2 of his 5 targets for 11 yards. Mark Thompson had 2 touchdowns in this game for the Roughnecks on a pretty good day on the ground. Kiki Chisholm led the game in receiving for the Roughnecks, 7 catches, 80 yards on 10 targets. And then you got touchdowns coming from the Stallions wide receivers, Deion Kane, Amari Rogers, and Benjamin Victor. And then the Houston touchdown pass from Sinnott going to tight end Braden Bowman there on his 3 targets. Defensively, again, not a lot. Houston safety Donald Rutledge Jr., though, was my pick. 7 tackles, 5 solos, a tackle for loss pick, and a pass deflection. Roughnecks plus 16.5. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about doing it, and I didn't. I did, however, I went with the over in this game as well, and it hit quite easily, 42.5. I got it at 43. Doesn't matter. 63 points in this game. One of the highest ones of the year, I think.
Yeah. The last 2 games for the Stallions have been pretty high scoring.
Yeah. All right. The Sunday, the Battlehawks, big game in the XFL conference race, 26-21 over the Defenders. Battlehawks clinched their spot in the XFL conference championship game. And it was the turnovers. The turnovers were costly for DC in the end. When you look at what they needed to do, they led this game 21-20 with about, I think it was 5 minutes to go or something like that. St. Louis goes down, scores with, I think it was right at the 2-minute warning. They scored their go-ahead touchdown. But it could have been a completely different scenario for DC. Because the second interception from Jordan Ta'amu set up St. Louis at the Birmingham or at the DC 17-yard line. Now, DC's defense got the stop they needed and forced a field goal. But if Ta'amu doesn't throw that pick, that's 3 points off the board. It's a field goal game, and they got within Matt McCrane's field goal range. And he would have been able to have a chance at a walk-off field goal to win it 24-23. But the turnovers costly in the end for Jordan Ta'amu, like I said. Just not seeing the same guy we saw last year as the XFL Offensive Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
It's been tough. They've had a lot of injuries, and
DC's had a tough season.
He doesn't have the skill position guys he had last year either. Abram Smith tearing his ACL in training camp was really a big blow. Mm-hmm. But Ta'amu, 57.5%, 196, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 30 yards on 5 carries, hit a 1 and a 2-point conversion in this game. Manny Wilkins got the start. A.J. McCarron injured in this one. So Manny Wilkins getting his first start in 6 years. He hadn't started a game since his 3-year starting career at Arizona State. The passing wasn't great. Just say that. 50%, 126. But talking about it again, dual threat quarterback, excellent rushing statistics, 79 yards on 12 carries and a 2-point conversion as well. Jalen McClendon came in for a couple plays. Ta'amu got dinged up at the end of the game. And that was really tough also to see Ta'amu get hit on 3rd down, get sacked. He has to go out of the game because he got hurt. And then, McClendon's in the game. It's 4th and 24, and, they're doing the laterals and didn't work out. But he did complete his only pass for 16 yards there. One thing, though, that the defenders did do well, it's not a lot of yards, but it's a good average for Darius Higgins. He led the game in rushing outside of the quarterbacks, 8 carries for 37 yards and a minus 4-yard reception there. Wayne Gallman was the player of this game, though, on offense. 2 touchdown day for him, 9 carries, 35 yards, 2 scores, and a 38-yard reception. Of course, Mr. Touchdown himself, Jacob Sailors, scored again in this one. I think that's his 6th total touchdown on the year. Ty Scott stepped up. He had to. Calvin Harmon was injured for this game, DC's number 1 receiver. So Ty Scott elevated to that. Played very well. 6 receptions on his 7 targets for 69 yards and a touchdown. Alex Ellis, the tight end, also catching a touchdown and a 2-point conversion on his 5 targets. And then this one, we did have a couple defensive performances, both on St. Louis. Linebacker Willie Harvey balled, 6 tackles, 3 of them solos, a sack, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 pass deflections. And then corner Tim Harris for the Battlehawks as well. 4s are wild, 4 tackles, all of them solos, and 4 pass deflections. Defenders, plus 5.5 cover by the hook, over 43.5. I didn't take anything in that game. Oh, no, I did. I took defenders money line. Yep. It was like plus 235 or something like that. I was like, dude, why not? Win or go home. So the Brahmas clinching their playoff spot as well, 20-15 over the Renegades. They needed a win and a defender's loss. They saw the defenders lose, so they're like, all right, let's go out and win this one. They did get it done. There was drama at the end of the game, though. Renegades scoring late, unable to get the 4th and 12, however, alternative onside kick. And then Quentin Dormady kneeled it out. But Dormady was on fire in this one. 68% completion, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 carries, 13 yards, and a 1-point conversion. It was just weird, though, that, you have to credit Bob Stoops' defense for Arlington because Dormady was throwing the ball all over the place, 320 yards. They only scored 20 points, though. So that was kind of a deficiency there. But I picked San Antonio. I lone wolfed San Antonio. I don't know what – I know what Alec was doing. I don't know what you were smoking there during graduation picking Arlington.
I in my mind, I had to pick at least one underdog. And I was picking – it was either going to be Showboats or Renegades. and I had Showboats, but I flipped and I went with Renegades. For me, I wasn't super impressed with the Brahmas last week. I thought, I think Renegades could come around, and Renegades won their first game last week, so I was thinking, oh, get a little momentum going. Maybe they can get 2 in a row. So that was my like rationale. It's like I wasn't impressed with Brahmas last week. I think Renegades will come out and try to get 2 in a row. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, my thing with San Antonio is that I just am a big believer in their defense. That's Wade Phillips' calling card, and he has gotten this defense lit up the last 3 weeks ish, and they are putting out some awesome performances. Led by Tavante Beckett there in the middle at linebacker, Jordan Mosley, the safety, and Jordan Williams as well, another linebacker there. Luis Perez for the Renegades. Good performance in a loss, 66.7%, 209, 2 touchdowns. Davion Smith led the game in rushing. Not great, 38 yards, 10 carries, 2 catches for 9 yards. Anthony McFarland, big day for him. Not on the ground, just 18 yards on 9 carries. But he had a couple monster touchdown catch and runs, 3 receptions, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns on 5 targets. He led the game in receiving there. One of those was a 52-yarder. I don't recall what the other one was. Tight end Cody Latimer, he led the way outside of McFarland in receiving, just shy of him, 6 for 116 on 7 targets. And it was a tight end party in this one because Sal Cannella led the Renegades in receiving, 9 for 87, a touchdown on 10 targets there. His teammate J.P. Payton catching the other Perez touchdown throw. And defensively, I'm going with Arlington. Defensive end Henri St. Amour, 4 tackles, 3 solos, a sack, 2 tackles for loss. My guy Devontae Beckett there, 2 tackles for loss as well. Brahma is the only favorite to cover this weekend. It was a small one, -1.5, under 45, which I did hit on that one. So I was 2-2 this weekend on my UFL bets. I was pretty, it was decent. It was decent. Would have been better if DC would have won. I don't think there's really any breaking news.
Not that I can find on Twitter.
Yeah. So let's go into college football news. We're going to start off on a somber note. Crazy situation. I think I showed you this at graduation, or maybe it was someone else. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure.
The story about Brian Battle.
Yeah. So Auburn running back Brian Batty,
that's right,
former USF Bull, transferred to Auburn last year, led them in kick return yards. He is currently in critical condition, and unfortunately, his brother Tommy Batty is died on Saturday after a shooting in Florida. So yeah, I mean, I read the article on ESPN. It didn't offer a lot of information. Obviously, there's still a lot of investigation going on, like what happened and stuff. But yeah, just an unfortunate situation down there in Florida with the Batty brothers, and hopefully at the very worst, we'll have one of them pull out here with Brian. So condolences to the Batty family, and like I kind of said, just hoping it doesn't get worse there with.
Yeah, and if you do want to show support, from what I could tell, the Batty family has started a GoFundMe for in support of the Batty family. They have raised over $85,000 and are trying to reach a goal of $100,000. So for anyone who would like to give to the Batty family as they fight this horrific family event, please do so. Show your support.
Yeah, for sure. Onto the transfer portal here. Arizona State wide receiver Elijah Badger. He has found a new home, and it is in Florida at University of Florida. So he is a Gator. He's not a Badger. He's a Gator. His last name is Badger. Miami, Ohio running back Rashad Amos dissing Coach Deion Sanders. He has flipped his commitment. Originally, that's two originalies. Originally, he had committed to Mississippi State, flipped from Mississippi State to Colorado. Now he has flipped from Colorado, and he is going to play for the Lane Train down there at Ole Miss. So,
yeah, good lesson for the Colorado organization. Don't shit on team players leaving. Don't shit on everyone else. Don't try to increase your brand instead of improving your fucking 4-8 football team. Like, this bullshit is obviously not flying. No one's buying it anymore, Deion. You did great at Jackson State. You really did a great job there, but my God, are you just alienating not only just your own players, not named your sons, you're alienating possible transfers. You're alienated people that have transferred from your school. I mean, it's starting to become embarrassing. It's one thing to do this while you're a good team, but to do it as 4-8, embarrassing. Don't pull this crap again. I hope they learn from the crap they tried to pull this summer on what it takes to really be a good D1 football program.
Hey man, 4-8 got it done for me last year. Granted, I had him going 6-6. I had Coach Prime bowling last year. They got 4-8, but that hit the over on the win totals on the year. It was 3.5. So
wow, they hit the over. They're acting like they're up there with Michigan.
They went 4-0, and I was like, let's go early season cash on the over wins. But yeah, no, Rashad Amos, excellent player. Miami Red Hawk there. Ole Miss, another bomb of a transfer here. Lane Kiffin's killing it in Oxford right now. And that's why a lot of people have them as dark horse SEC candidate this year. LSU running back John Emery, he is visiting with UCLA, so that could be a good addition for their new head coach out there, which I'm blanking on his name. I remember he played running back for UCLA. I can't remember his name right now, though. But yeah, they lost Carson Steele to the draft this year, so trying to get another veteran running back there with John Emery, who's played a couple seasons at LSU. Scored a bunch of touchdowns as well. Ole Miss wide receiver Zachary Franklin, he visited Washington. I think that's another good fit in terms of team needs. Washington lost their 3 starting wide receivers to the draft this year. Now they do have some other guys, but I think Zachary Franklin, Washington's a place that he could really come back to life after he was really an afterthought at Ole Miss last year. I really hope Franklin can get back to where he was at UTSA, because he was a monster at UTSA when they won. I think it was 3 straight Conference USA championships. So I'm really hoping we see that Zachary Franklin this fall, wherever he goes. And we're sticking with the Florida theme. My guy, Georgia quarterback Jaden Rashada. He is suing Florida head coach Billy Napier and one of the biggest boosters that the Gators have, Hugh Hancock, for fraud, among other things, for the $13.8 million NIL deal failure. So I was not as into recruiting as I am now and the transfer portal as I am now when Jaden Rashada was coming out 2 years ago. But I know the story, and hopefully he wins. Hopefully he gets some money from Florida. That'd be nice. Love it. It's an off-field Georgia-Florida game. I love it. And more money to talk about the NCAA settlement. So it's expected to be done this week, or at least agreed to. Not completely. You know, there's so much that goes into it between, you know, like valuing the players in the class, and then like, all right, which people are going to opt in, which people are going to opt out, because that's the only option. You're in by default, and then you can opt out if you want to, and then you can go sue the NCAA on your own. But just some cliff notes on it here. $2.7 billion is the amount, and that's going to be paid over the next 10 years. That's going to come from cutting back the distributions that go out to Division I schools. So, and I was reading it, and I get why there's division among the D1 schools, because obviously you have 3 classifications of Division I schools. Technically 4 if you want to count football twice. But you got FBS schools, you got FCS schools for football. Then you have I guess there is 3. Yeah. I don't know where I was counting 4. But yeah, and then you have non-football schools as well in Division I. So it's rough because 60% of that $2.7 billion is going to come from the non-Power 4 schools. 40% obviously going to come from the Power 4. And they are going to be, schools are going to be able to directly pay student athletes up to $20 million at the Power 4 level. 2 possible outcomes, though, that I saw when I was reading that. One is the elimination of collectives, potentially. A lot of people say, no, that's not going to happen. There's still going to be boosters trying to raise as much money as they can. And I kind of agree. One person said about how he thinks the $20 million number now at the P4 is going to be the floor, not the ceiling. So that's interesting. And then I think what the biggest one is from our perspective in terms of roster construction, potentially there's talk about roster caps instead of scholarship limits. So that would be crazy if there's roster caps. Right now, football, you're allowed 85 scholarships. I think the article said teams typically run around 140 players. So the walk-ons are obviously a major component of a Division I football, and all of college football, but a lot of walk-ons in Division I teams. If they cap how many players you can have, then you can give out as many scholarships as you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you're eliminating the walk-on from the game, essentially, because all your players can be on scholarship. So not really a big fan of that. Walk-ons are some of the best stories that we see in college football every year. So, and if we have it that way, you won't get any of those tearful scholarship videos anymore. They get to the walk-on, after practice, and like, oh yeah, surprise them with a scholarship. I always think those are kind of weird though, because like, bro, where did this scholarship come from? Like, did you just did you just magically appear? Like, how are you fitting this under your scholarship limit? All right, UFL news. The Panthers, big loss for their playoff push. They have lost running back Wes Hills for the season. They placed him on IR. They did, to fill his roster spot, they re-signed running back Toa Tawa. Big fan of Toa Tawa. He was part of those Nevada Wolfpack teams with Carson Strong and why am I blanking on his name? Cole something. He plays for the Commanders now. I can't remember his name. But yeah, big loss for West Hills and the Panthers. Luckily, though, they do still have Matt Colburn running the rock. Had an excellent game this weekend. They're going to lean more heavily on him now as they go into the playoffs. The Stallions making a change back at the punter position, waiving punter Drew Chrisman. They re-signed punter Colby Wadman. Makes sense. Wadman, I guess, was injured, so that's why they released him originally. Now, healthy, he's back. The Roughnecks making an O-line change. They waived offensive tackle Natai Rogers, who was their starting right tackle, I believe, for most of the season. Don't know if he's injured or not. Wasn't placed on IR, so could have been injured. I don't know, though. And then the Brahmas waived a couple guys, quarterback Jaden DeLora and offensive tackle George Moore. Big news for San Antonio in their playoff push. They reactivated quarterback Chase Garbers. So he is on the inactive list right now, but could be back by the time the playoffs come. So that would be a major boost to that San Antonio offense if they elect to go with Garbers, which, I mean, I probably would. Dormady played very well last week, but that was also against the Renegades, who had been one of the worst defenses in the league. But when you look at going up against the Battlehawks in the XFL Conference Championship, it's not going to be the Renegades out there on defense. The Battlehawks defense is balling out right now under defensive coordinator Donnie Abraham. So I would go with Garbers, though, personally, if he's 100% by the playoff game. NFL news, Fanatics. We're talking, it's fitting that we're talking lawsuits today, as we just got sworn in yesterday. So Fanatics is suing Cardinals rookie wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. breach of contract for a contract he apparently signed in May 2023 to license his apparel. Or to sell his apparel, I guess. But yeah, Jimmy, I don't remember what the breach of contract requirements are, so it's cool.
Well, let's freshen up because I'm making the call. Got our first client.
Yeah. But yeah, I still don't understand this Marvin Harrison thing, man. I think I made a comment about it last show. I don't know why he is holding out, why he isn't signing the licensing agreement with the Players Association. You can't get more money. It's not a negotiable thing. The percentage that goes to every single player that apparel is sold with that player's name on it, it's the same percentage for every single player. It's collectively bargained by the NFLPA. So I have no clue what the reason is he's holding out for, unless he sounds like he's trying to go full Jerry Jones. Sounds like he's trying to go full Jerry and saying, I am the best player in league history, and he hasn't even stepped on the friggin' field yet. And I should get 100% of my revenue, just like Jerry did when he got that for the Cowboys back in the day. I think it's dumb, though, personally. Just sign the contract. The fans are getting pissed at you, bro.
How dare they? I didn't do any. Oh, talking about Marvin Harrison. I mean, the fans always hate me.
A former Cardinal here, running back David Johnson has retired. Cardinals 2015 third round pick, number 86 overall. number one fantasy pick of mine in 2017, the first year of my dynasty league that I run. I had the number one overall pick, took David Johnson. I did not win a championship.
Not a great long-term pick.
But played with the Cardinals 15-19, the Texans 20-21, and the Saints in 22. Was not in the league last year. At least did not have any stats or on an active roster. One-time Pro Bowler and a one-time All-Pro. That was that 2017 season, though. Or maybe it was 2016, whatever. Whichever one. One of the years he was a Cardinal. 92 career games, 63 of them starts, 1,007 carries, 4,071 rushing yards, 39 touchdowns, which I thought was a pretty solid number for him. And then I was actually pretty astounded by the receiving numbers for David Johnson. 401 targets, 277 receptions for him, 2,805 yards, 18 touchdowns, 19 fumbles. That's a pretty big number, though, I think. Maybe not over. Was it a 7-year career? So,
yeah, 7.
But yeah, I thought the touchdown numbers were good though. 57 total touchdowns. That's pretty excellent. And like I said, the 277 receptions. I was like, dang, that's a lot.
Yeah, he was really good at being a two-way running back. Yeah,
for PPR, baby.
Yeah.
PPR.
Even when he wasn't, the top fantasy running back after, that 2016 season, he still was decently productive, both in fantasy and in, real life.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And he did play 2 playoff games. I think those were both with the Cardinals. Yeah, they were both with the Cardinals his rookie year, 2015. Started both of them. 30 carries for 95 yards, touchdown, 18 targets, 15. Again, the receptions are crazy. 15 receptions for 111 yards, 15 catches in 2 games in the playoffs.
Yeah. CMC who?
That's crazy. Another retirement. We had Eagles wide receiver Devontae Parker has retired, 31 years old. Dolphins first round pick in 2014, number 14 overall. And I was kind of disappointed. I was excited to have Devontae as that third wide receiver, which I think he would have done a really good job at, and as a veteran third option for Jalen Hurts. But understandable. He wants to be with his kids more, and he's got 4 of them. So, decided it was time.
Yeah. And hey, man, he had only 1 season in his entire career where he had over 800 receiving yards, and he finessed that into $54 million in his life. So, hey, good job, Devontae. Way to make your money, my man.
Yeah. Yeah, he played for the Dolphins 15-21, Patriots in 22 and 23, and the Eagles he was with this offseason. 119 games, 88 of them starts, 686 targets, 402 receptions, 5,660 yards, 27 touchdowns, and then played in one playoff game with the Dolphins, 6 targets, caught 4 for 55 yards. It's really making me feel old when we're talking about guys retiring that were drafted in the mid 2010s. No, I'm way too old. Injuries. What?
I was going to say that's what the NFL stands for, not for long.
The Patriots guard Cole Strange coming into his second year in the league. Expected to miss the start of the season, so bad news for Jacoby Brissett or Drake May. Not going to have Strange out there, possibly even out all the way until the middle of the year. He had a late season knee injury that has not gotten much better, and so they're going to figure it out interior wise up front. And then one free agent visit to notes: the Ravens. They hosted Seahawks safety Jamal Adams. All right, draft recap time. The Falcons and the Titans. So let's start with Tennessee. 7th overall in the first, offensive tackle J.C. Latham from Bama. 38th overall in the second, defensive tackle Tavondre Sweat, Texas. In the 4th round, number 106, they went linebacker Cedric Gray from UNC. 5th round, 146th, corner Jarvis Brownlee Jr., Louisville. 6th round, 182, wide receiver Jaquan Jackson from Tulane. 2 7th rounders, 242, safety James Williams from Miami. And 252, edge rusher Jalen Harrell from Michigan. I was not a big fan of either of these two teams' drafts this year. The Latham, I liked the Latham pick. I didn't love it. I know Logan talked about recently on the show. Teams are really getting less left-right focused, and they're just drafting the best player at the position that they think is on their board.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I don't know if Latham's going to play right or left tackle. They needed both. Career right tackle at Alabama, though. So that kind of concerns me. He's played started 3 years at right. Now he's got to flip to left if that's what they want to do. I think he can do it. But at 107, if you wanted to get, a guy that already knows how to play left tackle, Olu Fashanu was on the board still. So was Talise Fuaga. So I thought those probably would have been better pick than Latham, considering they needed both upgrades at tackle spots. So that was my issue with the Latham pick. The Sweat pick, I wouldn't have had an issue with it, but most people, at least outside of out here with us, we all thought with his DWI that he was going in the 3rd round. Like, he wasn't even going to be a thought in the 2nd because of that issue. Titans didn't think it was an issue. They drafted him early on day 2.
Yeah. I mean, I think with the Tavondre Sweat situation, I think what probably the Titans were thinking was, this is probably an isolated incident. This is something we can, if it becomes a problem, we can control it because he's now under contract with us. He's under our supervision. And again, even before the DWI thing, they probably have scouted them for a long time. I remember for the longest time, Sweat was considered one of the best defensive tackle prospects in this draft class. Mm-hmm. So they probably just, did their homework, probably didn't want to overanalyze this DWI situation, and probably just took their guy at 38. I like Sweat. I like Sweat, what he does on the field. And again, I mean, we've seen situations like this play out where teams don't balk at off-field issues right before the draft, and it usually ends up working out, like the Laramie Tunsil situation. Dolphins didn't balk at that, and they got a really good tackle that they flipped for really good draft picks. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of in that boat, kind of just in the idea that teams probably don't want to overemphasize one situation. Now, if Sweat had a rap sheet and this was like the 3rd or 4th time he got caught, he is falling off everyone's draft board. But I think with him just being over the blood alcohol limit, this is the first time he got caught, you're thinking, okay, this might not be repeatable. We can take that chance in the second round, especially with his upside. We've seen this play out with Tunsil, and it worked out with the teams that, the Dolphins who drafted Tunsil. So we'll still make our pick here.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fit.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought he was going to go further down with that off the field situation because he's perfect as a nose tackle at base 3-4, space eater with massive pass rush upside. And Latham, by the way, on our lads, they have him at left.
Oh, okay.
So they got.
So they're going to convert him. That's scary.
Yeah, they got Dylan Radins at right, along with Nicholas Petit Frere. It's crazy. I mean, obviously this Tennessee staff, this is their first draft. So, but just looking at like the amount of capital that they put into these tackles on their roster, like Jalen Duncan played a bunch of games last year. Only a 6th round pick as a rookie last season, but 2022 Petit Frere, 3rd round pick at Ohio State. 2nd round in 21, they drafted Radins from North Dakota State. So it's crazy the amount of draft capital they put in. They still haven't been able to fix it. That's why you get a hit on your draft picks. Doesn't matter how many you got. It means you got a hit on them. The rest of the draft, I wasn't impressed with the players. I like Ced Gray. I think he could eventually start. Jack Gibbons is the other inside backer along with Kenneth Murray, who they got from LA this offseason. So I think Ced Gray has the range to be able to beat Gibbons out in training camp, probably. Brownlee's going to be a depth corner, probably number 5 on the depth chart. Jackson, I don't know. There's a bunch of people that liked Jackson. He's going to have an uphill battle because they signed Tyler Boyd, signed Calvin Ridley in the offseason as well. So that's your starting 3 with Hop. But then they have Traylon Burks, who is rumored to be in trade talks, potentially. And then they have a bunch of other guys. They have a lot of other dudes. Nick Westbrook, Akina, Kyle Phillips, Colton Dowell, Mason Kinsey are all on. Kyrus Jackson, my Georgia Bulldog there, made the roster last year as undrafted player. But yeah, there's a lot of guys, uphill battle, not many open spots, I don't think, in the Tennessee wide receiver room. So I don't know if Jackson's going to make the roster or not. Williams, I don't think he's going to make the roster either. They drafted him as a safety. We don't really know what he is. he's a tweener. He's a linebacker safety. They drafted him as a safety though, and that was a position that I thought they needed because I hate the depth that they have. So he might have a chance. But see, then our lads lists him as a linebacker. But I took these position drafts from NFL.com's draft tracker, so I don't know. Looks like our lad sees him as a linebacker. I thought he was a linebacker too. So if he's going to play linebacker, I don't think he's making the roster. But if he's playing safety, he does have a chance because they don't have much behind Amani Hooker and Elijah Molden. And then Jalen Harrell, sure. I mean, they need pass rush.
Yeah. For me, it's just the Titans draft, it screams good, not great. I like Latham. I think he can, even if you move him left tackle, I think he can adapt. I think he has pretty good upside. I like Sweat a lot, even with the DWI situation. I think that is something that can be handled by the Tennessee Titans and by Sweat. I think Gray and Brownlee are okay. I think they weren't overdrafted. I think this is the best word I can say. They were drafted pretty much where they were valued, and if they work out, they work out. If they don't, you didn't lose.
I thought Gray was good value in the 4th.
I like Gray in the 4th as well. He was someone that I kind of wanted. Who was it? I kind of wanted the Browns to see if they could get him. I was kind of rooting for him to go there. And then, yeah, Jackson, Williams, and Harrell. they definitely scream long shots to me. They didn't really blow me away. Nothing's really special to me about those last three. First four picks, I think, are all right. Nothing like mind blowing, but all right, good value. The last three, kind of similar to your thoughts, just kind of like, well, if they work out, good for them, but I'm not placing bets on it.
Yeah. All right, let's shift over to Atlanta here and the pick herd around the world. The pick herd very loudly on our show because I won money off of it.
It was wild.
Quarterback Michael Penix Jr., Washington, went 8th overall to Atlanta. And we're freezing, which is cool.
Yeah, we are.
I tried to click a button. This is what happens when you try to click stuff. 35th overall in the second. They traded up to get defensive tackle Ruke Orhoro from Clemson. Love when Jimmy tries to say his name.
Still figuring out.
74th overall in the third. They went edge Braylon Trice from Washington. 4th round, 109, defensive tackle Brandon Dorless from Oregon. 5th round, 143rd, the linebacker J.D. Bertrand from Notre Dame. 3 6th-rounders, 186, running back Jason McClellan from Alabama, 187, wide receiver Casey Washington from Illinois, and 197, Go Dogs defensive tackle Zion Logue from the University of Georgia.
Wow. The University of Georgia.
Your thoughts?
I mean, I think my opinion about the Michael Penix pick has been just talked to death. Just basically quick recap. Weird that you're drafting a guy who's the oldest QB in the draft, or second oldest. I can't remember which one between him and Knicks were older. To back up a quarterback that you signed for 4 years. And it appears that you didn't tell Kirk Cousins nor the owner, because the owner seemed pretty shocked at his general manager's decision. Again, I like Penix, but to me, Penix feels like the QB that if you draft him, he should probably be at the top of the depth chart starting. You know, he is 24, almost 25. He feels NFL ready, and he doesn't feel like a project that you would have sit behind a quarterback for 2 years. I mean, he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Jordan Love. You know, Patrick Mahomes and Jordan Love were 21 when they were drafted. Mm-hmm. This guy's 24. You know, he's 2 years younger than Sam Darnold currently is. So that's about it with the Penix thing. It's been talked to death. I don't hate them getting Penix. And I like Penix a lot. But it's just a really weird fit. Yeah, and then kind of similar with the next 3 picks with Rook, Trice, and Dorless, kind of going defensive line for 3 straight picks. And I think I mentioned this when this pick took place. I thought they were going to go Sweat with 35. Mm-hmm. It got almost a similar like reaction to like the Penix thing. It was like, oh, you went that position, but you went with a guy at that position who was projected lower on a few draft boards than, you know, the guys that were currently available. Again, they're draft boards. I don't want to overreact if teams like their players or get them. But getting her and then Trice and then Dorless, and not just that, getting, you know, another defensive lineman all the way in the 6th. You spent 4 out of your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, half of your picks on D line. Kind of shocking. Mm-hmm. This is definitely a head scratcher of a draft for me. I think this is the hardest one I could really understand.
The Falcons draft, taking a second look at it during the show, it's warming to me, though. I am seeing some things that I do like, especially when you're looking at the depth chart at the same time. Mm-hmm. The Penix thing, I have semi-defended it most of the offseason because I get it. I get what Terry Fontenot is trying to do. If Penix, even if Cousins works out and he plays his entire contract, You still have Penix on the 5th-year option, and then you can do a short-term deal like the Packers did with Jordan Love. The age thing doesn't matter to me anymore like it used to because of how old quarterbacks are playing into their mid to late 30s a lot now. I don't see it as a big issue. Plus, it gives him time that he won't have all that, wear and tear. He'll be able to sit back, chill, be completely 100% healthy, in practice. And then when he does finally get his chance, he'll look very good for the Atlanta Falcons. On the flip side, if Kirk doesn't play well or he gets injured again, I'm assuming Kirk's deal, the Falcons can reasonably get out of it after year 2. So we're looking at 2026 potentially as the earliest we'll see Michael Penix in a starting role in Atlanta, which would be his best case scenario for him to get on the field. But I think either way, I think the Falcons are set. And as a lot of great personnel people and GMs in this league's history have said, and especially as we've seen it in the last couple of years, if you don't have a quality backup quarterback, like, you're screwed. Like, you're not going to win games if your starter goes down and there's such a big discrepancy. So now they have, obviously we don't know because we haven't seen him in the NFL play, but on paper, he's one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league on a rookie salary. I mean, they're almost getting as good of a deal as the Steelers are, but the Steelers have 2 quarterbacks making essentially the veteran minimum. As far as the rest of it, though, yeah, I did not like the Rukorohoro pick when Sweat's still there. The run on defense tackles, I always said, was odd at the beginning of the second round. I don't know where that came from. But Arroyo is a guy I thought was going to go late second, early third. He's more of a run stuffer with limited pass rush upside. Does have some power, but not nearly as much power as Sweat does. Plus, Arroyo, I believe, I don't have his measurables off the top of my head right now, but they have him as a nose. Let me see what our lads has him at. Because as far as I remember, he's not like massively heavy. Yeah, no. He should not be playing nose tackle at 294 pounds. I mean, he's not a starter right now. They have David Onyemata playing the nose right now. But Arroyo is undersized to play there at 294. I mean, it's not a bad issue, but I don't really see it. The next 2, though, or the next 3, actually, I do like. As much as I really thought they should have went edge rush at number 8, because that was their number 1 need, was pass rush, specifically outside pass rush. I really like Braylon Trice. I know John didn't like Braylon Trice when we were doing our mock drafts. He was not a big fan of Braylon Trice, but I like Trice's motor, and he does have some pass rush upside. I think he might be better in a 4-3 than a 3-4, but we'll see what he can do in a stand-up role as an outside linebacker there. Dorless is a guy I really like. Unfortunately, the Falcons run a 3-4 defense because I thought Dorless would have been excellent in a 4-3 because he can play inside-outside in that base defense. Probably going to be a defensive end in the 3-4 more than likely. So I don't like it as much, but Dorless is a guy I really enjoyed watching. Couple of Oregon games I got to watch. Plus, I saw him at the Senior Bowl as well. Had has some good pass rush upside. Again, I wish he was in a 4-3 though. I would have liked to see him rush as a 4-3 DN and then kick inside on passing downs. But anyways, Bertrand, love Bertrand in the 5th round. That's a steal for the Falcons. Sideline to sideline, tackle machine. Doesn't have to come off the field in passing downs. And they have a lot of guys at linebacker, but he'll probably be that 3rd guy after Caden Ellis and Troy Anderson. So I really like that selection there. I didn't like the Jason McCullough selection. And then the last one I actually really liked was the Casey Washington one. Atlanta, I thought, did a disservice to Kirk Cousins. Once again, I guess. To wait till the 6th round to take a wide receiver, I'm like, what are you doing, bro? Like, the wide receiver core is not great. Obviously, you have Drake London. That is your bona fide number 1 wide receiver. Has been really good his first 2 years in the league. They get Darnell Mooney from Chicago. I'm not a big Darnell Mooney fan. I know a lot of other people are. They trade for Rondale Moore, which I thought was an excellent trade for them to trade a backup quarterback for a wide receiver that's probably going to start. However, again, Rondale Moore really hasn't done a lot. His average depth of reception is -2 yards. So, if they can unlock Rondale Moore and get him down the field more, I'd be okay with that. But I think Casey Washington's in one of the best spots of any of the rookie wide receivers this year, just based off opportunity. I mean, he's listed as the 4th wide receiver right now. And I'm trying to see. I'm trying to remember where I ranked him on my Dynasty big board here. If I can find it. But no, I really like Casey Washington. More a slot guy, if I can remember right. But yeah, the thing I didn't understand with the Falcons, 3 defensive tackles made no sense. They needed edge rush a lot more than the interior. And the Jace McClellan thing I didn't really like either. Like the player, but running back wise, they're set already. Bijan, Tyler Algier. They have Avery Williams, who's their Swiss Army knife, and then Jace McClellan. So, yeah, I guess he's a decent potential third back, but I was not a big fan of that one at the end.
I think the trouble with these 2 drafts for us is just most of the picks are okay to good, but nothing just spectacular. It's hard to get hyped for these picks for the most part.
Yeah, I finally got my. Okay, so I have him pretty far down. Casey Washington, 41st. But again, though, right now he's the 4th wide receiver. That's why I put him down that far. 41 out of 78 drafted skill position players. So, it's being 4th to start the year. That's where you're not going to get a lot of value in terms of his rookie season. Mm-hmm. But let me see what else I have. I thought it was also funny the Titans drafting another skill position player from Tulane after they got Tajay Spears last year.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so the first one of these two teams is Jaquan Jackson. I have him 34th. And again, this article, though, I wrote this before the Tyler Boyd signing. So he's definitely not 34th anymore. He's more probably 60 something now. So the Tyler Boyd one really hurt him because I thought he had a decent shot at the worst making the roster as a 5 or a 6. But now I don't think he is really going to have a chance to make it unless I think he does have some return ability. So if he can wiggle out a return position, that's possibly your best shot there. And then I said what 41st for Casey Washington. Penix comes down at 58 for me. And that was really where actually no, that was below some of the guys that I thought really don't have a chance or a ton of fantasy value in your dynasty draft. In terms of just opportunity right away. And Penix comes right above Jordan Travis for me. I linked those two guys together. Obviously Travis a lot later drafted, but I love Jordan Travis. I think
I have him on my taxi squad.
Yeah, I think Jordan Travis could be excellent, but
my taxi squad is packed.
But yeah, I think those two are a good comparison, though. They're behind veteran quarterbacks. Obviously, Kirk's younger than A-Rod is, but they're both in the same situation. They're just waiting their turn and pretty much given the backup quarterback spot. I don't think Jordan Travis is. I think they signed someone else. Oh yeah, they have. Were they signed Tyrod? I think, right?
Yes, I think they did. Let me double check.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say there's not any more skill position players, but yeah, there's one more. Jason McClellan. He's down here in 76th, third the last.
Yeah.
Again, I just don't. He's not going to have an opportunity because they classify Avery Williams as a running back. So I mean, obviously it depends. Depends if when it comes to cuts, if they're going to classify him as a running back or not. I'm pretty sure they did last year, but he can play DB and running back, as well as. But the thing is, he's automatic. He's locked to make. Avery Williams is going to make the team. He's their returner, so he's going to make the team. That's why I really don't think Jason McCullough's going to have a chance to make it. All right. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't like my boy Zion Logue pick there. Again, tripling up on a position when you needed edge rush more doesn't make sense. Anyways, all right. Let's do grades here to end the show. Titans.
C+, B-.
Yeah, I like B- on that one. First 3 picks were good.
Mm-hmm.
Falcons.
I think you and I are going to disagree on this one, but I'm giving him a C-.
Yeah, I'm gonna go B+.
B+. All
right. You would have been really shocked. In my mind, I had A-.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think it's because you and I have a very different outlook on Penix.
If Penix works out, it's probably an A. But yeah, like I said, the Falcons draft warmed up to me when I was kind of taking a second look here, and like I said, I am okay with the Penix pick because of the necessity to have a good quarterback room and good future at the position. And then, like I said, I like Trice, Dorless, and Bertrand, and Washington as well. I thought were all pretty solid. All right. That's the show for today. Next, we're going to go back to Monday next week. Be back talking UFL Week 10. We'll be heading into the last week of the UFL regular season next weekend. We'll get to all your UFL Week 9 game recaps, as well as continue our draft recap series. Talk Broncos, Raiders, which I'm super excited about. My boy, Bo knows. We're talking the Jets and your Vikings on Friday, Jimmy.
Can't wait. A+ for the
Your weirdo JJ to JJ thing.
JJ to Jets.
Don't forget to follow us on our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and X, FAA_bets as well. FAApodcast.com is our website. Check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. And once again, go check out my Dynasty Big Board. It's a little muddled because of some signings that have happened, but it's still quality overall.
Check it out.
Thank y'all for watching. We'll see y'all back on Friday.